cars are under FRA restriction. You can see the R on it, stenciled R, which means they're restricted. We can't pass these into interchange. That means that we can't give them the CN to go down to Escanaba, or they can't go to California, they can't go anywhere. They have to stay on our line and our end. They can't be interchanged with anybody. Right now we have to renew the waiver every 5 years. They have to come in. It used to be once a year they'd have to come in for FRA inspection. They pick the end up, take a look at, make sure all the moving parts are working properly. Now with the new waiver, they have to come in every 2 years, so it's better. So they notice that we made progress in the repairs and upkeep. We do end up scrapping a lot of cars once we find cracks. If we find cracks in the main sills for all the supports, load on the actual load of the car and also the launch. So any cracks are in there, and they automatically scrap. They don't take the chances. Just pass and they pay for themselves plenty of times over. Repairs here, they do all their air work, mechanical work, welding, do wheel changes here. We don't press any of the bearings on. We interchange them. We can change the wheel sets out.
Are there still a lot of friction bearings?
I think they got about 100 friction bearing out there, but they don't use them. They're all in storage. So they actually had some downtime. They were caught up for all their basic maintenance, so they ended up converting a lot of the friction bearing into more bearings. You got your automatic braking, which is going to be your train brake. When you decrease that brake pipe pressure all the way through the train, the brakes are going to start applying. You have independent, which is just your locomotive brakes. It won't apply any of your train brakes. It's just going to be your locomotive. And then you got your independent brake. Is basically it turns the traction motors into generators when you want to slow down.
Brake.
Dynamic brake. What did I say?
Independent.
Independent. Dynamic braking. It basically does the reverse of a motor, turns it into a generator. So.
And now here's one of the things that everybody would like to figure out: how to harness all that energy that the generators generate. Because right now it's all dissipated as heat out to the nature. Now with the electric locomotives, they are able to actually collect that energy and run it back up to the catenary system, so they can reuse that electricity. So there's a lot of work being kind of done right now, looking into flywheels and some other things where they could store the energy and then reuse it.
I know when we were in the GE plant, they had some type of, basically just a big battery pack right behind them, but it wasn't cost effective yet. Batteries haven't been that advanced yet. So
yeah, the problem tends to be the space and everything. You need so much space for those things.
All right, we'll get out of here. It's still warm.
Possibly going downhill, and because they're already breaking the cars. Too much traction, too much effort. But that's one of the great things about ACs is, I think Derek can explain that with AC you can very easily control how much power is being led to the wheels. As soon as it starts slipping, you can adjust the AC. With the old DC motors, you couldn't do that. So when it started slipping, it would just spin until you pull back your throttle, and they would slow down and start pulling again. And since you know that it's a really small, the contact point size of a dime, you do get easily slippage.
These motors are actually good. These AC traction motors are good for 1,000 horsepower each. So they can lose the traction out in the field, roll a switch, it doesn't work, and they'll still have available 5,000 horsepower tractive effort to the ground. That's one nice thing about them too.
So they're like 5,000 gallons, 4,600 gallons.
4,600? That's good. Almost 3 days.
What model?
AC 4400s. They're made from General Electric.
You know that Union Pacific is the biggest single fuel consumer in the whole United States. They consume more fuel than Navy.
Wow, this costs like 15 grand to fill up one engine.
Does it have a sandbox or somewhere in the back? No, sandbox.
There's
Yeah, I guess what's the name out here and play around yet?
where is the sandbox?
Are these your tanks?
Those?
Yeah.
They sound
This side, fuel air.
Yeah, I've heard of it. It also says like a silica sand. It's not a typical sand you throw in there. It's got a glass draft weight and everything in there. And it's good to track extra track of effort in there.
The other one, I think.
Oh, they should all have one. That's a big wheel. They probably have them before, and that's beginning and end of every truck.
Those are the traction motors in there, huh?
Yep.
How do those traction motors hold up in the snow and ice?
Actually, the ACs are just amazing.
Yeah?
We don't hardly have any problem with the AC. The DC, if they get, what we have a lot of trouble with, if they come out and they're cold, they come into the shop, they warm up, you get all the moisture on it, the dampness, then you take them outside and then they freeze. So what we try to do when we try bringing them in here, don't bring them in for longer than a half an hour. If they're in here for over half an hour, we leave them in for 24 hours so they dry out. Otherwise, we automatically get a ground relay out there.
How far do you change or maintenance the German bikes?
They just do a visual inspection on basically what it is. I mean, the technology is so high up there. It's just amazing how long they can last. They say they can get about 20 years out of it. You know, another thing you see, we got hot box detectors out on the track.